eventually, but I won't. All right, we are officially live. Welcome, Red. I'm so glad you are back. We have a super exciting conversation ahead of us today because I know not only is it going to help me expand tremendously in my understanding, but anyone who listens to this is going to have like the mega downloads. A lot more things are going to make sense. So let's just start with quick introductions and then I will talk about what inspired this conversation in the first place. So, Red, please introduce yourself.
My name is Red Moonigle, and I'm a psychic catalyst, and I'm friends with Safrianna, and that's just all the introduction I need.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I love you, Red. I am so excited you're here. I am glad you love me and you're my friend. I am Safrianna Lughna, the queer spirit guide, beloved friend of Red. And I am here to shine my light so that other people know they can shine theirs. That will be my introduction today. So, Red and I were recently hanging out in Montana. So, I was out in Montana the last, like, very end of September to get more hands-on Body of Nine training. And many people at this point have heard me talk about Body of Nine. It's something I talk about all the time. Red and I did a call about Body of Nine as well. It's in the Soul Connection call archives. You can go back and listen to that, where we do talk more about Body of Nine. But while I was out there, there was a group of us sitting around in a circle, kind of talking about our natural numbers and how they're our body's filter system and how we see things through this filter system, but the inside inner working is different. And so, in our study of natural numbers, we've really tried to titrate down what is actually your natural number and your body filter system versus what is everything else. And when I say everything else, I mean like your human design, your astrology, your psychic gifts, your astral team, literally all the stuff you can't see. But Body of Nine and natural number is literally talking about the meat suit. I know we're not supposed to say that. I know some people don't like that, but the model car or model the 3D model you're running, right? And that 3D model really determines so much about who you are and how you see the world. But we got into this fun conversation where we started to talk about specific spiritual gifts that people have, which this episode is called Energy Sensitivity, Empathy, and Earth Sense. And those three gifts in particular massively change how you also experience things through the filter system. So, in other words, not only do you have your natural number, your body filter system, but there are three main gifts that will tweak little bits of how that body filter system works. So that's what we're here to talk about today. And I think this is really, even if you don't know your natural number, you might learn something about your gifts here today. So this is for everyone. So, Red, did I explain that well? Does that make sense?
You did, you did. So, the only thing I would tweak a little bit in that is that there's actually four. So, you have energy sensitivity, you have empathy, you have the combo. So, if you have a combo of energy sensitivity and empathy, and then earth sense, which is really kind of like the augmentation. It's very rare, and I don't know very many people who have it, which is just earth sense, like just that
Mm.
all by itself. It's its own thing, and some people don't have it at all. So if you have all three, then it's a whole nother thing. But I like to say 99% of the time it's going to be energy sensitivity, empathy, the combo, energy sensitivity, empath combo, and then earth sense. So I like to say that there's four basic gifts because years and years and years ago when I was doing like conversations and people would go, I am this gift and I have this gift and I have this gift. There was a lot of like assumptions that came out with that. And I think the first assumption that drove me crazy was everybody wanted to tell me I was an empath because I'm a deeply feeling emotional creature. I'm a highly sensitive person. So of course I feel everything and I care so much, but I'm not an empath. And that realization and understanding led me down the road of what's actually going on. I would like my guides, I would like other people's guides to please help me untangle this, because the last thing I want to do is confuse people even more. So, does that help?
Yes. Yeah, so let's you've untangled much of this now. And so you've figured out this sort of four different packages. You're going to get one of them. And we don't know why this particular set or anything like that, right? I don't think we know the ultimate be all end all cosmic design, but we know that it's here, just like we know that there's 9 natural numbers for human bodies and seemingly cats and dogs at the very least.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that's a whole other
Oh yeah.
conversation. So let's just get into each of them and sort of explore the micro differences or the macro differences, like how
Hmm.
people might be able to tell that they're one or the other, and how that's going to sort of determine how they're seeing the world, how they're experiencing parts of the world. So we'll just start with energy sensitivity. So
Okay.
energy sensitivity, my basic understanding of it is that it is sensing the energy of a space. It's sort of being able to walk in and like you feel the ripple effects of what's happened in the space. It's not necessarily the emotions of the people, but it's the vibrational quality.
Yeah. So energy sensitives are really tuned into fundamentally our connection to the quantum electrical energy, electromagnetic spectrum. Basically, that's kind of like the simplest way I know how to say it, but that manifests differently in different people depending on how strong they're in their energy sensitivity, if they have earth sense to augment it, if they have empathy to go with it. So I use myself as the guinea pig in that, because I'm about as empathetic as a rock. Like, I just don't have the empathy gifts. I just don't. Um, but I'm surrounded by empaths. So there is a little bit of untangling it for my empath friends to explain it. So I've spent a lot of time explaining energy sensitivity. So energy sensitives can feel sometimes like ringing in their ears, and it's not tinnitus. That doesn't necessarily mean they're clairaudient. We'll get into all that. Um, they can be extremely emotionally overwhelmed by beauty of anything, like a flower petal, and that emotion of just raw love feeling, almost like they're connecting somehow into the electrical vibration of the beauty. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Loud noises, loud music can be pleasant, but only in measured doses. So, like, sure, they can rock out to the loudest music in the world, but then when they're done, they're done. Like, do not give any more. And that's touch, that's sound, that's vibration, that's driving in the car. Like, when they're done with the
Yep,
vibrational energy, they are done with it.
that tracks.
Um, they can short circuit electronics when they get nervous, upset, happy, sad, angry. I've known many energy sensitives that have this whole, you know, I think my house is haunted. The lights flicker in here all the time. Like, when I sit next to this particular lamp, it flickers all the time, but it doesn't do that for anybody else in the house. Well, it could be electronically you're tapping into that particular frequency of that particular light bulb and that particular electrical circuit and that particular item. I do not pick up my cell phone when I'm angry. I have fried more batteries than you can shake a stick at. Um, I am pretty notorious for replacing my battery in my car every year. It doesn't matter if it's a 10-year battery, I drain the life out of them, like, gone. Um, Crowds. So, this is the cool thing about energy sensitives. Energy sensitives can be actually very attracted to large groups of people, because the large amounts of people's electromagnetic energy can make them feel jacked up and more
Mm,
energized. So going to a concert or going to a club or going and hanging out with friends is the energy, they're soaking up the energy from the music and the people and the place and all that other stuff. Energy sensitives can be sensitive to sleep. Like, if you disrupt their sleep cycle, it just stays disrupted. Um, they can have a need to always be in control of a moving vehicle because of the
oh,
vibrational energy
that
of the car going down the road is. vibrationally, like you're trying to connect yourself energetically to the energy of the world itself plus the energy of that moving thing.
I
So
love
energy sensitives can really like struggle with that. Um, they can be extremely aware of other people's go away button. So if somebody's exuding this get the fuck away from me, excuse my French, um, energy sensitives will pick up on it, and they won't pick up on the reason for it, like the
mm,
emotional connection, but they'll pick up that they're not wanted and they will respond to it 99% of the time without really awareness that that's what they're doing. Um, and if they have like um, trauma around that, they can really feel a lot of shame and guilt over that picking up of it, even if they don't
mhm.
understand why. Um, they also have a tendency to feel really excited and energized when there's a lot of emotion in the room. They're not picking up all the actual emotions, but they're picking up on the energy
Right.
of all of that emotion swirling around. So if you have a lot of people that are sad, it doesn't mean that I mean, they can share a commonality if somebody passed away and they're sad personally. But if they're in a room with a lot of sad people, they can sometimes, especially energy sensitive children, respond kind of inappropriately where they're hyper and they're ecstatic and they're jumping around and they're singing songs, and because they're just picking up on the energy.
Right.
It's not that they're not sensitive. They can be sad too, but there's a lot of energy going on and they're trying
Yeah.
to figure it out. Um, the other cool thing is that energy sensitives are really good at replenishing their personal energy through running water, laying down on the earth, growing plants, hugging animals, being around natural things, being outside, because Earth herself has an electromagnetic spectrum, and energy
Mhm.
sensitives are notorious for just sucking that up. Now, there is a side effect to that. Energy sensitives can be those people that they either grow all the plants in the world or they kill them all, because they can be very guilty of sucking the life force energy out of the plants when they're depleted. It's
Mm,
not that they're intentionally killing anything, and it's not necessarily because they have a black thumb. It can genuinely be that their energy is so dysregulated and they don't understand how to regulate it, so they're sucking the life out of everything.
right.
Um, and then energy sensitives are also pretty notorious for planning an escape. Everywhere they go, they plan the escape route. I don't think I've met an energy sensitive yet who doesn't do that at sub unconscious level everywhere they go. Now you can some empaths will do that if they have a lot of trauma, but energy sensitives are notorious for making sure they have an out. Because when they fill up with energy, their body vibrates so hard that they
Mhm.
need to go somewhere where they can shake some of that off. And
Right.
then the other thing for energy sensitives is that if you don't have a method of transmutation, taking all that energy you've been sucking in and transmute it somehow, like
For me, it's
it
dancing
builds up.
usually.
Yeah, dancing's are I love dancing. Dancing's great for me too. I do a lot of artwork. I do a lot
Mhm.
of sewing. I do a lot of creative writing, and those are things that help me with the transmutation.
Mhm.
If you don't transmute energy sensitives, there that energy's got to go somewhere. So it can go into. They'll often have a really high threshold for pain. They will often get well, like, I think some of it also depends on their natural number. I'm discovering like when energy sensitives go sideways, I think the natural number stuff starts to kind of show where the where it's going sideways.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of that's the short version of kind of how you know if you're an energy sensitive. Also, the other thing that most energy sensitives know is when an empath is tentacling and they want it to stop. They don't know why it's uncomfortable, but they don't like it and they want it to stop.
Yeah, so that's a perfect segue into empathy. So empaths, you describe it as these tentacles. I call them tendrils. I like the word tendrils for some reason. But yeah, like these little feelers that come out
Hmm.
from the body, literally.
They do. They come out from. I think it's a combination quantumly of the
Mhm.
energy field and the body.
Yeah.
But I know that every empath I've ever talked to, me not being one, so I have to rely on the empaths to tell me this, is that it is somehow anchored in the body somewhere, somehow, because when they pick up an emotion, they feel it in their body.
Mhm.
And if you have, well, we'll get to energy sensitivity empathy combo in a minute, but empaths are often labeled really young, very sensitive. And energy sensitives can be labeled as oversensitive too, but it's misunderstood as to where the sensitivity is coming from.
Mhm.
And empaths will get physically ill from people arguing and fighting and being angry
Mhm.
around them. Like there's a physical illness response.
Yeah.
Energy sensitives don't necessarily feel that. It's not necessarily the same. They'll know something is staticky and uncomfortable, but they
Mhm.
won't necessarily feel it in their physical body. So there's a big difference right there. Empaths tell me all the time crowds drain them and they need to be absolutely alone to revive themselves.
Yep.
Right? Like an energy sensitive is like, I want to go to a crowd. I want to revive myself. I want to go home. I want to float on that. Right? And an empath goes, oh God, I'm done. Find me a closet somewhere. you know, like really, really, they don't want to be around people when they're reviving. So an empath will also, not all of them, but I've known a few that they use overeating to deal with the
Mm.
stress of emotions. They use emotional eating as a coping mechanism. They can often feel suffocated by intimate relationships because they can't differentiate their emotion versus their partner's emotion, especially if their partner's also an empath. Because this is the thing that happens between empaths. There's a feedback loop that happens. So if I'm an empath and I felt you, then you would feel that I felt you. And then I'm an empath that's going to feel that you felt that I felt that you felt that.
Yep.
And then you felt that I felt that you felt that I felt that you felt that. In 10 minutes, nobody knows what anybody was feeling. And
Yep.
especially if you have a huge emotional response to something, like you're having
Mhm.
an argument with your partner, or, there's a lot of things, right? Um, Empaths often have a low threshold for pain because this is the thing, their own pain is then assumed, because if you don't know that other people aren't empaths, you assume that whatever you're feeling, somebody else is going to feel because you feel when somebody else feels something. So your pain threshold is so much lower. Um, they will startle easily. Um, they can be, um, they have a tendency to socially isolate if they haven't kind of come into the place of understanding with their empathy, and they will swallow other people's emotions. So if somebody's afraid, a lot of times empaths will swallow that fear of someone else and then it
Mhm.
becomes their fear and they borrow phobias that
Mhm.
maybe don't belong to them.
Hmm.
I know a family who's absolutely terrified of chickens, and every empath in the family has borrowed the fear of chickens. Not because
Yeah.
they actually are afraid of chickens.
Now I'm wondering, I'm like, "Oh, I have a bunch of really silly fears that I have no idea where they came from." I probably
Yep,
sucked them
that's
up somewhere.
very common with empaths. They absorb other people's stress, other people's emotions. They can absorb other people's physical ailment symptoms emotionally. Like, not always does it become a physical manifestation, but it can become an emotional manifestation.
Mhm.
Um, they can become overwhelmed by multitasking and prefer to do one thing at a time. They do need to replenish themselves in nature, but they do it a little differently. They're they have to have an emotional connection
Mhm.
to the emotional entities around them. So they will often talk about like connecting to the birds in the trees and the entities in the water and the dryads in the trees, but not so much the energy of the tree. Like if you listen very carefully to the dialogue, you'll hear the difference. It is
Mhm.
there. Um, They do prefer small one-on-one interactions rather than large groups, which totally makes sense because the overwhelm of too many people's emotions can be too much. So that's kind of like the big difference. And then there's the combo.
Hello, I'm the combo if you've been viewing this and have been wondering about why I'm agreeing with everything. So I can't wait for you to tell me how this creates the tug of war that exists inside.
Oh my goodness. You know, I think energy sensitive empath combos have probably the hardest time because I've read, there's some amazing books out there. And all of them seem to be written by empaths and empaths that either have energy sensitivity or they have empathy and they assume that everybody around them has empathy. So we're going to go back to the tentacle. Okay. So empaths feel through their world using that tentacle ability. Okay. They can't not do it. And I don't want an empath to stop. I really don't. I just want them to be aware that they should not feel people up without their permission. That's my only request.
And that we can suck them back in
Yeah,
temporarily if we need to. That's been a
yes,
really great skill lately.
yeah, there's some amazing power and control that you can have over your gifts that are innate. You don't have to try so hard, right? Like if you're an energy sensitive and you're trying really hard to be empathic and it's not working, maybe you're not an empath. Not that you're broken and you can't figure out the empathy. You might genuinely not be an empath.
Mhm.
But conversely, if you're an empath and you're trying really hard to feel all the energy around you and you're like, I don't understand what's going on, you might genuinely not have that energy sensitivity. Now, I had a discussion recently with somebody who was like, but all energy is, emotions are energy. I said, yes, but how your body translates that and how your gifts are written into your blueprint determine how that's translated. And that's energy sensitivity, empathy, or the combo. And if you have empathy that's telling you this person has this emotion, your feelers are out, you've been picking up on it, and the person you're communicating with is an empath and not an energy sensitive, you can have an entire conversation with that person at subtext that the other friend in the room who's an energy sensitive is completely lost. They have no idea what just happened. None at all. And they're going to stand there going, I have no idea what just happened. And I feel a little hurt and left out because I didn't pick up on that. And if you're an energy sensitive who is also an empath, you can energetically reach out to that other person in the room who has that energy sensitivity. But the energy sensitive doesn't understand the empathic undercurrent of the conversation at all. And empaths that don't understand how to work their feelers, their tentacles, depending on how you want to talk about it, they can really lash out and like hit people upside the head with their feelers, and they can actually inadvertently do a lot of harm to themselves and others by getting entangled in other people's feelers and not understanding that there is an edge. You have control over that. Now, energy sensitives don't have the feelers, but they have this field of energy that they know about. Every energy sensitive knows that they carry around a bubble of energy around them. Body of nine, there's certain natural numbers that are even more aware of that. But energy sensitives know about that bubble. They know when somebody walks into their bubble. They can feel the vibrational shift of another person's energy bubble intersecting theirs.
Mhm.
And it's really powerful when you can acknowledge it and honor that part of yourself, because shielding, that whole grounding and shielding thing that everybody talks about, I work with people all the time that empaths need to learn how to pull their tentacles back and honor their bubble, right? And honor other people's emotional bubble. And energy sensitives need to realize that their bubble can come in really, really tight and they can control that, as well as they can extend their shield to other people. There is a power that comes with energy sensitivity with shielding that empaths, if you're just an empath, you don't have that. It's different. When you envelop somebody in your empathic shield, it's not an energy protection, it's an emotional protection. It's very different. So there's subtleties in each gift, And like you have a combo of both. So you have innately kind of learned how to do, well, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. Well, I can do this and that and the other. And the people around you are like, I can't do that. How did you do that? And many books are written by empaths who have a little bit of energy sensitivity. Not all of them, but there's a couple of them. And they talk about the assumption that everybody's empathic. Everybody has energy control. Everybody has the ability to create a shared energy bubble. No, they don't. You and I am the first one as a non-empath to know 100% certain that I have no ability whatsoever to control an empathic emotion bubble. Not even remotely. I can't get there. I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do all of that. Now the tug pull that happens is this. I talk about it all the time. Broken empaths become narcissists. Broken energy sensitives become sociopaths. And if you have somebody who is broken in one or the other, that creates a real tug with the people around them. And there creates a lot of damage. And if you're not sociopathic or narcissistic, but you have both gifts, there's this tug and pull. There's a need to be with people, to have energy and have that swirl and that dynamic around you. And there's the need to hide in the closet and be safe and recharge. There is the sensitivity of the vibration of the room you're in, and you're picking up on all the emotions of all the people in the room. Energy sensitive will pick up the kinetic energy of somebody who fought in the room 2 weeks ago, and the empath is going to pick up on the anger and the hurt and the sadness of the fight that happened 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that it's like an overlap.
So if you have both, you get all of it.
You get
Yes.
all of it,
All the
and and
info.
it and it can be really hard. I don't ever want to diminish it at all, but if you take somebody who's double whammied in the sensitivity categories, right? And you add a natural number that doesn't know where their natural number activation is, it can just seem like your body is out to kill you.
Mm. I can imagine that.
Because
I can imagine.
remember, empaths feel that emotional in their physical body. Energy sensitive feel energy in their body too. I don't want it to sound like they don't, because I mean, there's a reason why I drive my car. And I am not a comfortable passenger. And if I'm as a passenger riding in a car that I am not familiar with, I have known people's cars to have things like flat tires randomly, brand new tires having flat tires, the battery dying, them not being able to start, us getting stranded somewhere because my electrical energy is so reactive to not being able to connect in and not feeling safe that stuff goes sideways.
Yeah.
And my physical body then gets nauseous, not because I don't have the, what do they call that? The car sickness. I don't have that.
Motion sickness or whatever. Yeah.
I have energy sickness. And it's a real thing. So each gift has its own subtleties. It's got its own like, and you can have both. You can genuinely have both. And sometimes like yours are fairly balanced, right? So you have, I would say, fairly equal representation. But there are people who are highly, highly empathic that have just a little bit of energy sensitivity. And there's really strong energy sensitives that have a little bit of empathy, but it's not what's driving the bus. The energy sensitivity is driving the bus, or the empathy is driving the bus. It's actually not as common to find somebody who has a fairly balanced both in the raw gift package that they chose for themselves,
I like to do everything as a Gemini, so I even splits everywhere.
right?
That's how I roll. I picked
Yeah.
the Gemini master archetype as my
Ah,
overall blueprint. I was like, I like that. Twins, let's go.
that's lovely.
Yes. So yeah, the a lot is making sense for me because I've never heard the two described like, kind of bullet lists of the different qualities, but you're absolutely right. I had always wondered about the electronics because there have been I remember there was the time that stands most strongly in my mind. I had a roommate, and the roommate was dating a friend of mine, and the friend of mine called me to let me know that the roommate had hit them.
Mm.
And I obviously was not okay with that on any single level. Like, this person's going to leave. They're not going to be my roommate anymore. What the heck? And as I hung up the phone, which was at like 75% battery with my friend, the whole phone died and I could not
Yep.
get it to turn on. And I was like, what in the, because that had never happened to me before. It was the first time that my rage had been able to, with full permission, because I wasn't clamping my emotions down, it was able to come up and out.
Yep.
And
Yep.
all the electronics. I've also had several instances of running spiritual circles online, on Wi-Fi, and frying the Wi-Fi, which is why I
Oh yeah.
only run my spiritual events on hardwired connections now, because when
Yep.
I'm moving lots of energy, it's yeah, it's all going to heck. So I think that
Oh
energy
yeah.
sensitivity, like I feel like empathy is more widely understood than energy sensitivity, just because it's a word that we use. Like empathy is something that we tout as like, oh, well, you want to be an empathetic human being. And so there's a difference here between regular empathy and a gift of empathy,
Yes. Yes.
because we can empathize with someone and be like, oh, I can kind of understand where you're coming from because I had money trouble too. That's a different kind
Right.
of empathy than
Different.
I have these little feelers that come out and they feel your sadness. I
Yeah.
live I live with another empath, and we literally have this conversation all the time of, I'm nauseous. Are you nauseous? Who was it first? Which one of us
That's
brought
a
this
real
emotion
thing.
first?
That's a real thing. I've been really blessed that I've been surrounded by empaths that have taught me about empathy. They have taught me both the good and the bad, but it's a learned. So I think the thing that people get caught up in with empathy, as in feeling compassion and grace and connection with someone versus the empathic gift, because everybody wants to feel like they can connect to other people. We're social creatures, right? Like we
Yeah.
always want to have connection. That's natural. That's good. It's a wonderful good thing to have. But when you talk about it in a gift sense, it's fundamentally different in the depth and how far it goes and how you learn to either use it and help it integrate into all of who you are in this beautiful package of presentation, whatever your choices are, or how it gets twisted.
Hmm.
And when it gets twisted, it can go bad very quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to focus on it, but I would like to clarify that um, there's a fine line that it's not as fine of a line as you think. But when I talk about narcissistic behavior, there are people who display narcissistic behavior that are not necessarily narcissists, like,
Hmm.
but they have narcissistic tendencies or
Yeah.
behaviors, right? And that can be just caused by trauma, right? So they're working on it and they're aware somewhere underneath there that they have the sympathy and they're using it to manipulate people to be safe. Okay.
Right.
I'm never going to judge somebody who does that because that's a real thing. Narcissists go that extra, there's an extra step, right? That's the I use it for me and I don't care because I have figured out how to shut off the caring part of the empath. And
Hmm.
that's where they become broken. Okay. Where it, it, I never say that things can't be fixed. Okay. Like I love the beauty of our world that we always have choice. Okay. But I also recognize that a narcissist has to want to heal. I can't save a narcissist and you can't save them. They have to
Right.
want to make that journey, right?
Right.
And from an empathic clinical narcissistic diagnosis type perspective, There are those that recognize, apparently I'm a narcissist, I should probably get help for that. I don't want to be that way. But there is an undercurrent. If you talk to recovering narcissists, that's what I like to call them, they'll say things like, I felt this thing. And if you listen really carefully, that empathy is bubbling up.
Hmm.
It just, until you have a conversation of what empathy is with them from a gift perspective, they can only get so far.
Yeah, that's really powerful too, because, I see everything comes from trauma, right? Because we
Yeah.
come in, we're perfect, we have our gifts, we have our blueprint, and then the world just starts mucking it up.
Yep.
And all this stuff gets layered on top of us. And I could absolutely understand being also an empath, um, not just an energy sensitivity, how the ability to feel other people's emotions, if I'm not really self-aware and I'm traumatized, I could absolutely see protecting myself with that. And when we reduce it to, people can't be fixed and they just come in this way and that's that, we're missing so many important layers that just need to be
Yeah.
acknowledged. So thank you for acknowledging that. I'm glad you spoke
Hmm.
to that, because that is such an important distinction. So I'm hearing like understanding your gifts also layers in the capacity to heal, because you are able to know more of what's you and what's other people. There's more
Yeah.
lines that you can draw there. But
Hmm.
how I want to talk about earth sense, but in terms of energy sensitivity and empathy, because they are a totally different ballpark than earth sense, what are sort of the life-giving tips you would give to people if they're like, I am okay, I feel like I'm energy sensitive, or I feel like I have the empathy package. What can they do to practice with these different gifts to actually improve the quality of their life?
Okay. So I'm going to back up to go forward on this because this is a
Go for it.
question I ask probably every client because I like clients to come to their own awareness of where I'm going. So when I ask clients, I go, so when you walk into a room of 10 people, there's somebody that's really upset on the other side of the room, but they're having a smiling, happy conversation with the person in front of them. What do you pick up? How do you know that they're upset? And the empath will often say, I feel that they're upset. I can feel that that's a mask. That's fake. They feel angry, upset, hurt, fearful, right? An energy sensitive will go, they just crackle. How do you not know that they're upset? I don't know what they're upset about. I don't know what the actual emotion is, but the energy is definitely off, right? That's how you know. Like, that's the difference, okay? So, what does that mean for tips? How do you deal with that? What do you do with that information? First off, empaths who go into big spaces with a lot of people, pull your feelers back. Don't turn it off. Do not turn it off. Do not pull your feelers all the way inside your body and stop feeling things. That's the worst thing in the world to do because it causes things to go sideways.
Mhm.
So don't do that. It also makes you very vulnerable when you need to be safe. So don't do that. But allow your feelers to what I've used as a visualization for empaths that seems to help sometimes is think of your feelers as just gently touching somebody on the shoulder and saying, "Hello, I love you," and seeing what they say back. What do their emotions say back to you? Because "Hello, I love you" is neutral, as neutral as you can be. "Hello, I love you." You're just giving grace and space to the emotions of the person, no matter where they're at. You're not giving them love. You're not invading their choice. You're not invading their space, but you're saying, tap, tap, "Hello, I love you. How are you?" Okay. So you practice that and you keep your feelers close to you. You don't go feeling out everybody because that's what every empath does. They go into a room, they're like, "I'm feeling everybody up."
And they have no idea they're doing it, so we're not guilting
No,
you,
no.
right? You
Oh
don't know you're
my
doing it.
God. No, you don't know you're doing it. But I've never met an empath who doesn't do it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
FYI.
exactly.
Um, and energy sensitives walk into a room and they extend their shield. They extend their bubble. They just make it big. They make it as big as they can because they want to feel all the energy and they want to know that they're safe and they want to know where the exit is. It's hilarious how energy sensitives do it. And instead of doing that, energy sensitive should walk into that space and say, I am here. I will let the energy flow to me as it needs to and flow back out. I'm not going to hold anything that doesn't belong to me. And I'm just going to let the waves of energy be.
Mm,
And you'll pick up, but you won't be invading. And energy sensitives and empaths both have similar things where they have a tendency to just kind of barrel into other people's space, and they don't mean to do it. I mean, there's never any harm intentionally until you have the sociopathic narcissist who figures out, I can manipulate people. Ha ha. I'm going to use this for evil intent. Rah, rah, rah. Like
yeah.
I don't mean it that way, but I'm being very cartoonish about it. But, practicing being aware of where your tentacles are, being very aware of where the edge of your energy bubble is, and always practice a little bit on your own and then a little bit with somebody that you feel is safe. And have the conversation with the other person. Like, my partner is empathic, like highly empathic. So he really, really needs quiet time to decompress. And I need attention. Like it's completely dichotomous. So if he's really upset, his energy gets very heavy in the room. And I'm like, oh, so he's upset. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's upset at work. I don't know if he's upset about his son. I don't know if he's upset at me. I don't know if his lunch didn't taste good. Like, I have no idea where the heaviness is coming from. So I
Right.
ask 5 million questions, irritate the bejiminies out of him. And finally he's like, it's not you. And I go, oh, okay. And then I leave. Like, don't push those empathic buttons. I'm just telling you. So little things that you do, communicate with your partner, find out where is it empathic, is it energy sensitive, and if you get in an empathic feedback loop, pull your both of you away and understand where the edges of that is and where is that overlap and where did it get confused. Like, you use the who was nauseous first, right? Like, trying to untangle that is practicing. Those are all practicing things without judgment. And that's extraordinarily valuable to anybody who's trying to figure out how to navigate their gift.
Yeah.
It's important.
Absolutely. Thank you for those tips because I'm sure they're going to help somebody. Like, it's just we have these gifts but we don't have education about it, sort of like body of 9. Like, we all have this natural number we're seeing through our study, but 10,000 people ish know about it. That's
Right.
not a
Well,
lot of
the
people.
other layer of energy sensitivity versus empathy is this: there are 10,000 books out there about empathy, but they all assume that everybody has empathy.
Right.
And if you're an energy sensitive, you're going to feel not heard. You're going to try all these empathy tricks and techniques. If you're a combo between energy sensitivity and empathy, you're probably a little confused at this point.
Yeah.
You were confused, were you not?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been confused until this has made things make sense because yeah, like I've always known I was vibration sensitive and could feel the energy in a space, didn't know what it was called. Vibration magic, yay. And
Right,
then I can feel people's feelings and emotions, and I was aware I could pull something back in and stop feeling that. Uh, but
right,
but the clarity on it, like really being able to have dialogues about this and understand that there is no one size fits all because we have body preset 1 through 9, and then we have gift package 1 through 4, well 3 plus maybe 4, and
right.
then we have all of our other design. So even the best of books out there are not going to land 100% for any one person, right, unless they're prompting you to get to know you.
Correct, correct. And this detangling that I spent years trying to figure out was having so many empaths. I'm surrounded by them. I have had other energy sensitives around me too, but they would get very fixated on, no, I have to be an empath because everybody's an empath. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, but you're like me. Like, there's no way you're picking that up. And you're screwing stuff up sideways because you don't really know what people are feeling. And yet you're married to this idea that everybody has to be an empath.
Right.
And I've, in all the gifts that are out there, you can talk about clairsentience and clairvoyance and all those other gifts, but you can be clairaudient and energy sensitive. You don't have to be clairaudient and empathic. You can be
Right.
psychic and empathic and not be energy sensitive. Like all those gifts, their baseline is energy sensitivity, empathy, the combo between the two, and earth sense. I promise every single gift out there has a baseline. And I figured it out completely by finally getting frustrated and having guides finally explain it to me because I was like, I don't know, what am I picking up on? Why is it so confusing?
So we haven't touched on Earth Sense yet.
Okay,
Earth
Earth
Sense
sense.
is super cool. It's the Mama Gaia Club.
It is. So Earth sense is, years ago, I I for a long time kind of wondered if it wasn't just maybe the idea that some people had like shamanistic connection, because
Hmm.
the only people for a long time that I saw it very clearly outlined was when they had earth sense tied into their blueprint and tied into their purpose, like what are they here to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And over time, it got even more confusing. And I'm like, I'd see somebody with empathy with a little bit of earth sense. It looked like an augmentation, like their empathy was on boosters, like on stimulants or something. And but they had maybe a little bit of energy sensitivity, but the earth sense didn't do much to the energy sensitivity. Or they could grow 5 million things, but they had none of the other earth sensey things. And I was so confused. I did not understand what was going on. And I actually, probably about 10 years ago, I met somebody found me, they came to a session, and they only had earth sense. They did not have empathy and energy sensitivity. They didn't have it at all. Like, I mean, literally none of it. And
Huh.
I went, what am I looking at? Please explain this to me so I can explain it to this person because I am lost. I do not understand. This goes against everything that y'all have been showing me through clients for years. Like, what does it mean? And the way it was explained to me is that Earth Sense is a gift that Mother Earth herself gifts you in your meat suit. So it's kind of like your natural number, right? Like you get a meat suit, Earth suit. I know. I'm
We're using
trying to
the
change it to
illegal
Earth suit.
words.
I'm trying to use Earth suit instead of meat suit, but I can't help it. Anyway, so in your Earth suit, in your blueprint, there is seemingly a place where you can sometimes choose like what kind of energetic augmentation you want with your meat suit. So if you kind of need to be a 9, I think that somewhere along the way you can kind of choose to be a 9 somewhere. I just haven't untangled what all that is. But Earth Sense can only come through as a gift from herself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have only Earth Sense, she has gifted you that. You didn't choose any other gift because you knew that you came in contract with her. And Earth Sense is all of the gifts, but through her. So anything that's not connected to Earth herself isn't going to come through very well. So empathy through Earth Sense is very much feeling through the connection of the body. So the emotions. So this is where, interestingly enough, the person I talked to, she became a somatic therapist because she can feel where the earth, where the body is holding the trauma through her earth sense. She can feel out the emotions and where they've settled in the body,
Wow.
in the physical body. But she can't feel where the emotions from an empathic perspective. She can't feel the feelers. She's not aware of any of that, but she can feel where it's off, where the emotion is sitting in the body and it's going rancid, for lack of a better term, right?
Mm-hmm.
She can feel the electrical energy vibrations. She was somebody that the first time I had met somebody else besides me who could, from the time she was a child, she could feel the electrical current of the meridians and how they work. She could feel the nervous system in her body and in other people's body. I have no idea what this woman's natural number is. I don't think it's an 8. She didn't have any of the characteristics of 8 now that I've learned about body of
Yeah,
9.
that's what I was like,
But
I wonder if 8s are
no,
more inclined to earth sense at all, but
no, actually, I wondered about that too, but that is not necessarily a thing. Just so we know. Um,
good to know.
so there's a quality if from earth sense just by itself, it is the ability all by itself to connect into Mother Earth at a telepathic level and all of the entities that are from Earth that are connected to her and the meat suits that originate here. And we could get into a whole alien conversation a whole other time, but
We're going to, I'm sure.
there's a thing that Earth sensees, Earth sensors can pick up that's very unique. So that's by itself. So what happens if you have somebody who's an empath or an energy sensitive and they have earth sense? So I have earth sense and I've known I've always had it, but I didn't know how to untangle it from the energy sensitivity because the way earth sense had been described to me originally was it's an augmentation. So you take whatever gift you have and it's an augmentation of that gift and or additional earth sense connector gift, but they are given to you by earth herself. So if you come here, say you're a, I don't know, I'll throw out a term, a Palladian, because I have no idea, right? Like, so say you're a Palladian and you come here and you're here to do a thing about, I don't know, water. We'll say water. You're all about the water. You're going to teach people about water and saving the oceans and all that other stuff. But you're not from here and you have decided to have energy sensitivity and not empathy, but you need earth sense. You've contracted with Mother Earth to come here. You've answered the call. You've come here. You're going to do the thing with water. But your earth sense, all of your earth sense gifts are all wrapped around water. Now, in many metaphysical like traditions, water is emotion, right? So you have to be an empath. Nah, don't go there. That's those two things do not go in a straight line. So you're an entity, you've come here, you've chosen energy sensitivity because you need the vibrational awareness. You need that, and you need earth sense to augment the vibrational awareness. But then you need the earth sense to be able to tap into when water feels off. When is the vibration off? Can you take a glass of water and charge it energetically? Can you fix the halo of the water with your energy sensitivity? If you were just an empath with earth sense, you might not be able to do that necessarily, right? You see where earth sense augments the gift and drives the purpose for a lot of people. Not always, but a lot of times it's definitely like, here's your it's like a role playing game. I always use role playing games as a wonderful tangent to this. Like you chose a D10, you should be able to run really fast, but your earth sense gives you a die 20 augmentation. So now you're leaping over buildings and flying.
Yay!
Like Superman, right? So earth sense, depending on what gifts you chose within your earth sense or what she chose to give you. Some people it's your choice, some people it's her choice, and it's something quantumly cosmic that I don't, not my business. Anyway, so if you have earth sense augmentation, it can make, like for you, for example, it makes your energy sensitivity and your empathy stronger through the earth sense. So there's that animal communication piece, right? So you have animal speak. You've got air sense, earth sense, water sense, fire sense. You have realm sense because there's multiple realms here that live coexisty-ish dimensionally with us. I don't know how any other way of explaining it. Um, and earth sense, if you have chosen that part of the augmentation, you're going to be very aware of it. Like I've seen the little people my whole life. I've seen entities that cohabitate with us dimensionally my whole life. People who don't have that don't know what that is. They can't even glimpse it out of the side of their eye. They basically think you've swallowed the crazy pill. Like they don't get it. And this is the other challenge is, so your energy sensitivity and your empathic, right? That's your thing. What if you chose not to have earth sense at all? What if you didn't get that? That doesn't mean you're not connected. It just means that when you meet somebody who has earth sense, please listen to them because they do know what they're talking about. They're not swallowing the crazy beans. It just means you didn't get that one and you might have chosen it on purpose. So I'll use a common thing I use with many people, which is, say you're caught in karma. You come back and you're deliberately trying to unwind the karma so that you can do your job. Like you got to unwind the karma to be able to do the work. Okay.
Right.
And you didn't get a sense this go around. You probably chose that on purpose. Like, think of how complicated life would be to have energy sensitivity and empathy and earth sense and trying to unwind karma. Like, let's have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich plus a piece of lasagna plus a piece of chocolate cake plus 3 gallons of water and a wine and a beer and cookies. Like, at some point, your stomach's going to go, and stop,
Right.
please. Right? So, I kind of get riled up about that. I
No,
apologize, but I'm very excited.
no, and this has been great. I think this has been such a wonderful overview of the gifts, and I think, yeah, you're going to be able to just send people to this in the future and be like, here, go get the download of what, because this was a great overview. And Red does blueprint readings. That's literally like your professional healing offering in the world, is that you do these blueprint readings with
Mhm.
people. I've had one done. Pretty much everyone I know at this point has had one done with you, but um this will get you quicker access to how your unique gifts show up in this way, and where your intersection is. So yes, I'm one of the lucky people who chose them all, and we're going to talk about that, Red, because I've had big realizations of why I did that, and now, yeah, fun
Yep.
stuff. But this is really important information for people to have, because again, most people don't even have their body filter system, and so
No.
we're literally walking blind through life.
I wanted to bring up one other thing. I actually had a conversation with somebody yesterday who's a natural number 6. She's energy sensitive, and she was talking about empathy. Like she has the earth sense empathy, but she doesn't have empath like her partner has. And she was really frustrated because empaths, if they don't know, will often assume that everybody around them has empathy. And if an energy sensitive who has empathy through earth sense, the empath is going to pick up that empathy through the earth sense. And they are again going to make the assumption that that energy sensitive person is not honoring their empathy.
Hmm.
So it's really important that if you're an empath and you know you're an empath, number one thing, please do not assume that everybody's an empath because they're not. And if you're an energy sensitive and you're wandering around lost, that all these empaths are emoting at you and you have no idea what they're feeling, it's okay to be lost. Because I was lost for a chunk of time, finally being able to go, oh, there's wording for this. I can
Hmm.
work with this. I can help people understand. And knowing that your meat suit, because I was going to body and nine with this, so I'm getting there, is that the two people that were part of this conversation, one person, their natural number activation, they are an energy sensitive and a 6. So sixes are all about the energy right in front of them. Like, what's the activation? What's available right now? Where is the direction to go? And the empath person that we were talking about is somebody who has a tendency to, in a 3, threes can be very, they light your soul up, right? They honor who you are. They want you to come out. But they also have this other thing. They say a thing and they assume you're going to hear it. And you might not hear it because they're emoting and saying words. And a 3, I've noticed this. Threes who are empathic, when they say something, they also reach out their empathetic tentacles and touch you with them. And if you are not an empath, you have no idea what the subtext of that conversation was.
Yeah.
So your natural number does impact how you use your gifts and how that creates a tug pull in relationships, how it creates a tug pull miscommunication on so many levels. I mean, I'm very blessed to live with an empath who is very patient with me. I also have no idea what his natural number is. He's in his own journey with that, but there is very much an understanding that his natural number does affect his empathy in a very specific way.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he can't get there, that's okay. I can still honor that because I'm aware of it.
Right.
And that's the best thing you can do for anybody in your life is recognize where your gifts are, knowing what your natural number is. So knowing how that gift comes through your natural number, because it's all going to come through and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to behave differently. So a natural number 5 empath does things totally different than a natural number 3 empath. And that's really important to know because 5 empaths do things very like quantumly web weaving higher. There's a 5 thing that's totally different empathically than
Yes.
a 3 thing. Okay. So knowing your natural number with your gift does matter. It does help because then, as I am figuring out, and I am so excited to share, is that there are tools and techniques that I've used for years because I've had to develop all these different techniques trying to find the best one to help each person because I didn't have the natural number piece. So I
Right.
have like a plethora of list of things that people can do based on their natural number that will help their gift.
Yes. This is why
I'm
this is
so excited.
revolutionary work, and it's so important. And the again, the more of us that are having these conversations, the more we get data and we get to understand how these different gifts filter through each of the different natural numbers. And that's just going to deepen our understanding of what these human body vessels are capable of. And
Yes.
it's super, super exciting work. So thank you so much for this conversation, Red. I am sure that so many people are going to benefit from it. Um, yes, we're going to be getting back on and talking about alien stuff at some point, I'm sure. And because
I
how
think
could
we
we
have a
not?
list at this point. I think we have a list at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
I do think we're just going to have a reoccurring series with the two of us discussing a variety of things. So
oh, absolutely.
thank you so much. If you watched this, if you caught the replay, feel free to hashtag replay, let us know. And if you are ready to learn your natural number, feel free to reach out to either of us, or there is a link in the comments
Hmm.
on this video where you can see the two most recent to the recording of this
Yeah.
identification sessions that are coming up. So
Yes.
until next time, friends. Bye for
I love
now.
you, Safriana,
I
and thank
love
you
you.
everyone for joining us. This is amazing.